I can remember starting my first print-on-demand store and being concerned about using print-on-demand suppliers that weren't based in the United States. I felt like if I chose a supplier that was based outside of the USA, that my business could potentially suffer. And if you have ever felt similarly, stick around, because in this video I'm going to be sharing my experience using Chinese print-on-demand suppliers and giving you some of my top tips for communicating that to your customers. If you're just getting started and you're new to my channel, hey Joe, it's Folks here. Make sure to check out my course. There's a link down in the description. The best part is it is completely free. Inside, there's over 30 step-by-step videos to help you build your print-on-demand store. In the video today, like I said, I'm going to be sharing some of my experience and also debunking some of the top myths that I hear people talk about when it comes to using print-on-demand suppliers that are based outside of the USA. And if you're wondering what I even mean, well, print-on-demand companies are producing our products and then shipping them to our customers, which means they are producing them somewhere. Some suppliers produce the product and then ship it from inside of the United States, and some of them are producing it elsewhere. For example, this company here called Pillow Profits makes a ton of really awesome print-on-demand products, and they ship all of their items from China. We have these print-on-demand shoes inside of the Printify app, and again, these are also shipping from China. And if you have ever seen the Subliminator print-on-demand company, you will see that they carry everything from hooded blankets to leggings and hooded dresses and kids hoodies and tumblers and cloaks and dog hoodies and puzzles and a whole bunch more, and all of their print-on-demand products are also shipping from China. Something like this here, a print-on-demand metal sign, is going to ship from the USA. And if you wanted to sell yourself a shower curtain like this, you could get one from a United States supplier as well. If you want to see me review both of those products, the print-on-demand metal sign and a shower curtain, make sure to check out the recent reviews I did here on my channel. I talked about the product quality and even gave you some really great design ideas to try if you're selling them. Back to this though, if you're selling these shoes, they're going to ship from China, and honestly that leaves a lot of people that are just getting into print on demand feeling a little bit nervous or a little bit uneasy. In a lot of cases, people feel that by using a Chinese supplier that something bad could happen and it will cause their print on demand business to suffer. And here are the top 3 myths that I hear a lot when people talk about using a print-on-demand supplier that is based somewhere like China. Number 1, that the quality isn't as good as USA suppliers. Number 2, that there are more errors with the printing or shipping when you're using a Chinese supplier. And number 3, that it will take months for your customer to receive the item. Since starting my first print-on-demand store in 2016, I have sold a lot of products from Chinese suppliers. If I had to guess, I would say that more than half of the products I have sold have actually been from Chinese suppliers. So what I want to do is share my thoughts on those 3 myths and really just talk about my experience. If your experience is different, let me know how it went down in the comments below. And after we go through these 3 myths, I will give you a great way to talk to your customers about where your print-on-demand supplier is located and how you can help them understand why shipping might be a little bit longer. One thing I think people forget about when they are using print-on-demand suppliers like this is that Subliminator or Pillow Profits here are actual companies. When thinking about myth number 1, which is about quality, I think people sometimes forget, again, these companies have a vested interest in making sure that they are producing something great. Here on my channel, I have reviewed dozens of product samples from lots of different Chinese print-on-demand companies, and in a lot of cases, the products are actually a little bit nicer than some of the United States options. I'm not saying all, I'm just saying some. My point is that sometimes people forget these are actual companies that are actually trying to produce a quality item. These are companies that have a Shopify app. If they don't create great products, then no one is going to want to install their app on their store. Some of you may have heard of a site called AliExpress right here, which is a place where you can get tons of random products and gadgets and apparel items that are basically sourced from factories in China. And I think a lot of people sometimes take their perception of a site like this and they apply it to print-on-demand companies like this, and they assume that the quality issues that you hear about with AliExpress products, because they are coming from China, will also be present on print-on-demand suppliers like this or print-on-demand suppliers like this. AliExpress suppliers are not the same thing as print-on-demand companies. In a lot of cases, the people setting up these shops on AliExpress are basically just acting as a middleman between you and the factory factory in China that's actually producing these items. When you order something from AliExpress, that middleman then places an order and essentially drop ships these products to you or to your customer. When you use a company like Subliminator, they are printing everything in-house for you. They have their own factory. Suppliers that are based in China inside of Printify are doing the same thing. Companies like Pillow Profits here are handling all of their own orders. They have their own teams, their own factories, and they're set up to provide you with a print-on-demand service. Basically, what I'm trying to say is don't let your perception of typical low-quality issues with Chinese-based suppliers cloud your judgment when it comes to choosing a print-on-demand company. This is actually a much different type of thing than what you're used to seeing with online drop shipping with products from China. And this kind of brings me to myth number 2, which is that when you're using a Chinese print-on-demand supplier like Subliminator here, or this supplier here inside of Printify, or even a print-on-demand supplier like Pillow Profits, that you are going to just have more errors with the wrong items being sent, or delays happening with the production or with the shipping. And again, if you are using AliExpress to sell any of these products here, I would think that would likely be true, because again, these suppliers on here are basically shops that people are setting up to essentially act as a middleman between you and the factory producing these items. When you actually come in here and place an order for something, they are actually drop shipping these items to you or to your customers. And there's going to likely be some errors. And that's what you typically hear about, which is why when people think about using a print-on-demand company like Subliminator or Pillow Profits here, or a Chinese supplier like Smart Printy here inside of Printify, they typically believe that there's going to just be an increase in errors, or that because they are using a Chinese supplier, things are going to go wrong more often. What I'm trying to say is people think if they use a United States supplier that the error rate is going to be 0%. If they use a Chinese print-on-demand supplier, then the error rate is going to be much higher than that. In my experience, that is not really the case. I'm not saying the error rate is 0 and that print-on-demand suppliers in China or elsewhere don't ever make mistakes. I'm just saying that I personally have not noticed a higher rate of errors and delays than USA suppliers. I'm not saying that shipping doesn't take longer when you're shipping international. I'm just saying there is not any additional delays or a more likelihood of an error when using a Chinese supplier. And again, that's because these companies are real companies. They are set up to handle your orders the same way that a company would be doing it if they were based in the United States. Myth number 3 is that if you're using a supplier like Subliminator to sell this product here, that it's just going to take months for your customers to receive the item. And again, I would say that would potentially be possible if you are using AliExpress as a supplier. I have heard of people drop shipping items like these from China, and sometimes it taking 6, 7, or even 8 weeks for the customers to receive the item. Here on Subliminator's site, they actually have a pretty good breakdown about what they estimate for both the production time and the shipping time. What's cool about a lot of these Chinese suppliers as well is they have express shipping options, which is usually a DHL or a FedEx option that really will take 2 to 3 business days for the product to arrive. Obviously, something like that costs more money, and in a lot of cases, if you're just getting started, you're probably going to just use the regular shipping. My point, though, is that Subliminator lists their production times and their shipping times separately. You'll see that they have 2 to 7 business days listed for production, and they have 6 to 9 business days listed for the regular shipping. In my experience, these time frames are pretty legitimate. What we have here is a range when you combine the production and shipping times together of about 8 to 16 business days. And if you're doing math, that's potentially a little over 3 weeks, because a business day is only a Monday through Friday day that is not a holiday. And again, in my experience, that is pretty typical. That is, however, going to be longer than a company based in the United States. My point in talking about this, though, is they're telling you that straight up, meaning if it does take 2.5 weeks, that's not because of an error or a delay, that's just how long it takes. I'm not saying that 100% of their orders are always going to ship within this time frame. I'm just saying, in my experience, the majority do. I have not found that Chinese suppliers have more delays or more errors when it comes to shipping compared to United States suppliers. And again, I think the reason for that is because companies like Subliminator here are producing their items, they have their own factory, and they're getting getting ready to, send you your item as soon as the order is placed. They want it to arrive to you quickly, because if it doesn't, their business will fail. The same thing is true for this supplier here inside of Printify, and the same thing is true for Pillow Profits. Like I said though, everything I've gone through so far has been based on my own experience using Chinese-based print-on-demand suppliers, so let me know down in the comments below if your experience has been similar, or if you have a different experience, let me know that as well. What I want to talk about now is how you can actually communicate with your customers about where your print-on-demand products are actually produced. Sometimes I see beginners make some big mistakes with this. What you do not want to do is have on your store in big red letters, product made in China, or something like that. You also don't want to have somewhere on your store in big red letters, please allow 4 to 6 weeks for delivery. All of our products ship from China. Both of those things are likely going to scare your customers away. Not because the product is produced in China, but because you're writing it in big red letters and you're almost making it seem like it's something negative about your store. What I would try to do instead is try to make it a positive. A lot of times on stores of mine, I have written something that basically talks about how we are a made-to-order business, which means we produce all of our products as you order them and we don't hold inventory. Because of this, we use a wide range of suppliers that exist all over the world. Depending on which item you order, you may actually receive items from more than one supplier of ours, and we do this so that way we can offer you the highest quality product at the lowest quality price. If you write something like that, you're going to likely get a lot more people to not be alarmed. Secondly, when it comes to describing shipping times, you should not write something that says, please allow 6 weeks for delivery. Again, that's likely going to scare your customers away. What I typically do is break it up, just like Subliminator has, with production time and shipping time. On a shipping policy page on my store somewhere, I will basically say, hey, we are a made-to-order business, which means production time for your item once you order it is quoted at about 2 to 7 business days. Once your item is produced, you will receive a tracking number. Once your item ships, please allow 6 to 9 business days for your item to arrive depending on your location. Again, if you write it like that, they're going to not be alarmed and you're going to be quoting them the same thing that Subliminator is quoting you. And that is going to lead to a lot more happy customers because they're not going to be misled. You are telling them exactly what is going to happen, and if anybody ever questions it, you can refer them back to the policy on your store. That is what has worked for me, and that is what I'm going to continue to do. Let me know in the comments below if you have a different way to do this, or if you have ever had any issues with writing something like that to your customers. Basically, the point in me making this video was because a lot of people inside of my print-on-demand Facebook group have been asking a lot of questions lately about USA suppliers compared to Chinese suppliers. In a lot of cases, beginners seem to think that if they use a Chinese supplier, that it's going to potentially hurt their business. And I'm not saying that Chinese suppliers are perfect. I'm just saying if you're using this supplier here inside of Printify, or if you're using Subliminator to sell something like this, or if you've installed the Pillow Profits app on your store, that in my experience, you're not necessarily going to get a lower quality item or something that has more errors, or even have something that takes months for your customers to receive. My point is, these are real companies. They are much different than using a supplier like one of these inside of a place like AliExpress or some other drop shipping service. Print-on-demand companies are real companies, and they have a vested interest in making sure that they don't get kicked off the Shopify App Store for a whole bunch of unhappy customers. If you are planning to use a Chinese supplier, then yes, there will be longer shipping, but that's not because of delays. That's because in most cases, it's going to be an international shipment. But like I said, let me know your experience down in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video.